Welcome back to blackgirlcouch Reviews. I'm your host, Christina. We are going to discuss the 4th episode in the 2nd season of Vikings Valhalla, entitled The Thaw, written by Ian McNamee, directed by Monica Mitchell. This one was very much a mixed bag of feelings. I didn't really enjoy it. Even the stuff in the Keivan Rus, while slightly intriguing, not enough of, and thus the rest of the episode suffered because that's the place I wanted to be and not anywhere else. Everything else just I could kind of care less about. This Emma Godwin, I was intrigued with it, but now that it didn't end the way I was thinking, I was thinking Geetha and Godwin were in cahoots and set up this poor girl Ethelwyn, especially when Geetha, not to get all up into it already, admitted that Canute doesn't care about my happiness. He just wants me to make an advantageous marriage. And so I was going to be much more intrigued if they really did dirt like this and it was not just Godwin and the power of his dick.
Annie, you okay? You okay? You okay? Annie, you've been struck by a smooth criminal.
As stated, I wish we had a much longer time of Emma being in favor, because we know historically that Godwin wins, but for a long time Emma triumphed. So to so quickly have her dethroned as the most trusted confidant of Canute feels, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily feel earned at quite this time and with quite so obvious a fucking plan, in my humble opinion. And then Emma straight up lied, talking about I've known for weeks.
Really, nigga?
But before I get too further into the review, wherever you listen to this podcast, Podbean, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, go down to the rating section, drop some stars, a like, leave a review. My social media will be there as well. If you want to send feedback, blackgirlcouch@gmail.com. And here we go. Since we started in London, let's just go ahead and fully digest that storyline. Ethelwyn is subjected to torture because Emma believes that there's something additional that she could have information about in regards to Godwin. And despite, I don't know. I wish she would have simply let it play out. I would not have okay, if he really wants a son to be king, well, he marries this chick. That's not going to happen. I would have played into his hand instead of playing in a manner that makes you look foolish. Granted, she did have to go through a whole bunch of torture just to get that information out. But she could have kept talking to her, maybe giving her some wine. I feel like torture is simply just a stupid way. I know it's back in the day. It's just how people did things. But I would think for Emma to be there, I felt like she wanted to be in control more of her destiny, and it became more about her ego than about her intellect in playing chess with this person. And I don't the idea is that Godwin wants to garner sympathy for Canute to go after who he really wanted, which was Geetha, which we saw him looking at as a prize to be taken from Canute the minute she showed up. This whole other thing, everything he put in place, and he even throws it in her face. Who's the one that first protected you? If I wanted you dead, he doesn't want you dead. He wants you regulated and him to gain more favor. And because you decided to be so obviously opposing him, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I would think the Emma I knew from season 1 was smarter than that. And thus all of this the torture, her dying, and then Geetha coming over and giving the most awful looking pendant, if I'm being honest. It's a wedding gift. And then her feeling very, kind of jealous of the love that Aethelwyn got. Oh, it's just all so perfectly set up to work in Godwin's favor. And now Emma's just gonna sound like the boy who cried wolf. So now everything going forward, and Canute already offered his blessing. He was 5 steps ahead of you, and instead of catching up a little bit and then thinking about your moves, you thought you were Godwin for 5 seconds. And I don't really like seeing this whole storyline play out, because I don't care about Godwin. I don't give a shit. I don't like you. Why do I want to see you come up? And then what? Now I have to go watch Emma back and forth and back and I don't know if that's gonna play too well in season 3. I really don't. I guess we're not gonna see Canute anymore. I don't know. We got 4 more episodes. It's possible he might show up at some point. I need to get my zaddy on. But seriously, they could have done Emma a little bit better, or at least made Godwin a little bit more insidious, because this felt a little lame. I loved her. Like, who is you trying to convince? Because I'm not at all. A little bit. Those fake tears in your eyes. Everything about it, if you're asking if I love her. Oh, come on. You're a man who knows more than anything else, and you didn't think to check your soon-to-be wife to make sure she didn't have a brother that she was ashamed of in her family tree. Get the fuck out of here. And everything that the information that's funneling in is coming through him. You needed to find more. That's what she needed. She needed allies. And I don't feel like there's no allies around her, which makes it also very unrealistic how this is being played out. And thus I'm getting very discouraged by watching it. Like, I don't want to go back and see what happens the next episode, because I already know Geetha's going to be like, cry on my shoulder. And Godwin's going to like, I deserve compensation. And Canute's like, marry Geetha, because she's, he's like, I've got feelings for her now. And then now he's going to be in the line of succession. And then Emma's going to be like, it all makes sense now, which he should have fucking did in this episode. And thus, the fact that someone died and was close to you and you just sitting on your throne all arrogant, like, oh, I made a mistake. What kind of shit is that? Oh, I feel like they railroaded her character. Let's move on to the absolute, because that's not the worst storyline, is the Jomsborg. I do not like any of this. All of a sudden, Jolnir from what, not even 2 days ago, went from we don't associate with these peasants to I'm in love with the woman that's singing that we've never seen you interact with other than one time, and now you two are making hard eyes at each other, and now I'm one with the people and telling my mother all about it and how things need to change. And then every time we see Freydis, she's just obliviously and more heavily pregnant. Acting like she's in a fucking Enya video.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
Everything about her arc is boring. I don't care about any of these people. And then Haker shows up and then decides that the best way to deal with the refugee problem, because we need them to be our labor, is to murder them.
What kind of bullshit is this?
Because they are, quote, superior to these mixed North breeds. So, heavily disappointed in Jolnir, he has Freydis in prison talking about, I made her a priestess because I decided. Like, she decided to fucking come here. What? These stories are getting nonsensical. They're just getting nonsensical, but at least she's no longer playing Fae with the children of the forest, and something might prompt her to fucking pick up a sword and start acting like she's a warrior and not a damn priestess, because that was never it. Like, you trying to tell me you can't take it? Like, you're like, seriously, 3 feet taller than this guy. And it doesn't seem like he's all that in a bag of chips. I love me, the actor, but come on now. When he pointed the arrow and he was like, ugh, I was just like, what are we doing here, sir? What are we doing? So yeah, he massacres all the refugees, and that's not going to get out at all. Cause problems. His son who shouldn't really have turned so very quickly, clearly was not indoctrined that hard, which why would you expect him to be? Y'all send him out and then you never made him part of what the plan was? He acted like he was surprised. I never wanted you to talk to him. I wanted them to work for us. What?
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So all of that out of the way, let's then go to Kattegat, where Olaf finally gets busy with Elsa 2.0.
Make it nasty, make it nasty. Drop it on the bitch, make it nasty. Make it nasty, make it nasty. Pop it on the bitch, make it nasty.
And I'm convinced that she gave it to him just so that he would bring her son back, because Savin has to go to Norway or to the Keivan Rus now when he gets a message that about a month ago, well, at least we know there's a month that has passed, but that still should not explain why Freydis has went from 12 weeks to 4 months. 4 to 6 months in a short period of time. I made her priestess. No, I think she's touched. Steven, though, did not seem too pleased about why Olaf was in his mom's chamber saying goodbye for that long. And I mean, come on. You didn't smell the sex coming off of him, because he did not take a shower afterwards. He crawled right out of bed, put them clothes on. You can smell your mama's perfume all over him. You knew exactly what's going on. He's like, yeah, well, your daddy was efficient. I'm not. I'm your daddy now, boy. And off to the Keivan Rus they go, because they're going to try to convince the uncle not to give aid, but what they don't realize is the uncle ain't giving no aid, because he ain't got none to give. Which leads us back to Novgorod. Well, on our journey to Constantinople, where several things go wrong. First, we have the arrogance of Harald coming through once again. And Leif is a great person, because he supports his sister in her vengeful quest. He's supporting this idiot in his claim for something that really don't belong to him, right? Based on one man's promise that's not in a position to even guarantee said promise, right? Show you, right? On his way to become a fur trader to get money to hire his own army, which, mayhap. He simply acts out like he's the only person out there in the world that might have something or an agenda to get done. And Leif has to be the supporting factor for him, even when he be fucking up, and you should not be giving him pep talks like, fortune favors the bold. It's like, yeah, it does, but patience is also a thing. So when the man who knows the fucking ice better than anyone else tells you we need to rest, you don't be like, well, I brought you along to not listen to your advice and do what I want to do. And then the sled gets stuck and trapped and they need to free it. And he's screaming and everyone's angry. There's a moment where the slaver, because the one chick, she really wants an opportunity. She's waiting for her opportunity.
Oh, sweet Jesus, let me kill this nigga.
I think I would care more if I even knew what these people's names were. Like the blue scarf woman, she's with Keivan. Looks like he's trying to, you know, make a little bit of a life going forward. Because he happy to go back to Constantinople. It's like, shit, I ain't want to be in a Keivan Rus anyway. You know how fucking cold it is over there? You know how beautiful Constantinople? I don't know how my black ass even ended up with all that damn snow and the cold degrees that is there. But how we invest in this when it goes by so ever quickly? And it's not even sure. I mean, she said one word. Tell me about Constantinople again. There is the reveal that Vitamir's slave is not a slave at all, but his daughter Elena, who he did not want to travel as a girl, so had her travel as a boy. I think I rather suspected that, but I never said it out loud because I was just kind of like, this is like an obvious reveal. So I just kind of left it alone. But I didn't think it was his daughter. But unfortunately, we lost Vitamir this episode after he declined to give the slaver, he wanted basically a reference. Like, hey, can you put in a word for me at court? And because the slave was like, fuck you, ain't nobody doing shit for you, he gonna slap. You can't just put your hand on somebody else just because, even if they are a slave. Like, you don't have the right to discipline my slave. Where in that universe does that exist? I would have beat the shit out of him. But once again, they stayed out of that drama because they knew what it was. There was moments between Leif and, oh, I forgot her name already. Miriam, where he's learning to read. He's learning to use a compass. He's becoming a scholar. And she also knew that Vitamir was traveling with his daughter when he unfortunately falls into the ice. Because after they are able to get the sled out of the ice, fixing his mistake, there is an ice dam, and unfortunately Vitamir and... Did we lose someone else? I thought maybe we lost someone else. Oh, no, Elena did fall through the ice too, but she was saved by Harald. And it's very unfortunate that she lost her father, and everyone is like, oh, that's not a boy, it's a girl. And Harald's like, I put your father's treasure with my shit. I promised him I would get it to Constantinople, and I will. I'm starting to think that whatever's in that chest isn't the treasure as much as his daughter, the way he protected her. But maybe she's going to present something to someone. I don't know. But I don't have that long to think about that, because then we're done with that part of the episode. So I was very mad that the slaver was still alive, but I was happy that Keivan had survived. And I do think that, you know, those looks that Harald and Leif exchanged, because now Harald once again is going to feel bad and Leif's going to have to be like, it's okay. But they did make it out to the river point where they needed to be, and they didn't run into any trouble other than the ice dam that led to only one death. So not altogether horrible. And they said it was a month ago. So they're on their way. We have 4 more episodes to go. I hope things speed up in the way they should have from the get-go with Freydis' storyline, which is her and the refugees wrecking shit. Because that's all I really want to see from that going forward. But since we don't even have the main protagonist or antagonist, Olaf, going to be there, I don't think it's going to happen next episode. So I don't know how much I'll actually want to see what happens in Jomsborg in the next one, because everyone there is just disinteresting. And unless Canute shows up, I'm probably not going to care what happens in London. Those are my thoughts on the episode, but we do have feedback, so let's hop into the mailbag.
Mail, motherfucker!
What up, Cena? This is Mimi. Here's my feedback for season 2, episode 4, Valhalla. I was trying to listen to the podcast that you dropped for 1 through 3. I only made it through to 2 because if I don't do this while Derek and Darren are at Derek's soccer practice, I know I'm not going to get it done because they be all up in my business, all up in everywhere I need to be. So I wanted to do it while they're gone. They're probably close to being home. I watched this last week and I just didn't feel like sending feedback. So I'm sending it now. First, I want to talk. I'm still not a fan of Freydis' storyline. I told you before that I really only care right now about what's going on with Leif and Miriam and Harald. It's interesting. And now we got Kisan, and then the other people. And I'm very interested about the princess that's with them on their boat on a sled. But Freydis is it got a little more interesting, I guess, now that we see that King Arthur's is not a very good person. I'm not quite understanding what is happening. I am trying to feel I know he's using these refugees as a way to make himself more wealthy, but what's his end game? Is he trying to take war to the Christians? Is he really religious? I'm not sure, because when he came, when Freydis found the those statues or whatever, and she decided she was gonna create a Uppsala. We're gonna do the things that we used to do, and we're all gonna mingle together. Let's stop this classism or whatever the case was. To me, it didn't make sense, what the end game was. They created this area for, the refugees and the people that believe in the old gods, but they're not acting like it. And now he's killing all of them. And it looked like he took Freydis, as a hostage. What are you trying to do? I don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I care. And I honestly don't even understand what I'm supposed to do with this information. So it's making it less and less interesting for me. I like that, is his name Bradley Cooper? No, that's definitely not it. Bradley. I can't remember what his name. I know he was Arthur in Merlin, but I don't remember what his real name is. Bradley somebody or the other. It doesn't matter. He's clearly a villain. I just don't know what we're trying to do with him. He clearly was using Freydis to get more people to come to Uppsala, or the new Kattegat, or whatever the fuck. I think they said it's the new Uppsala, but that's clearly not what it is. It's just a way for these particular Vikings to recruit people. I don't even know if they really believe in the old gods. And speaking of, I know she's dead now, but that girl singing, her voice is so fucking annoying. If I heard someone that sounded like that, I would not follow them. I would actually go in the opposite direction. I was I don't know if her voice is supposed to be beautiful, but I fucking hate it. Every time she would open her mouth to sing, I got fucking annoyed as shit. Her voice was not pretty. And I don't think it was the song she was singing, she was just doing notes. It was her voice. I don't know. I feel like if that same actress sang something with words, I would fucking hate it too. I don't know. It just bothered me. And I kind of was excited when she died, because then I don't have to listen to her fucking sing anymore. So that was great. The other thing was going on in London, England. It's going on in England. Is, you know, Queen Emma killed Godwin's future wife. He had just got the okay from King Canute to marry her. And I just, in listening to your like podcast, I realized that I didn't really talk about Godwin. And it was honestly because, like I said, I just wasn't interested in anything that was going on there. Like, none of that shit was interesting to me. I never, like, I am always been suspicious of Godwin, even when, like last season, we saw what he did to the Emma's stepson. He killed him. You know, he can't be trusted. So I never trust anything he's doing. Even now, I'm trying to figure out what the end game is, because I still think that he probably did have something to do with it. But he looked genuinely sad that his, you know, wife to be was murdered by Emma. It seems like a very far-fetched wraparound that he like set this up for her, like, half brother or her brother that she didn't even, or half brother, I don't remember what she said. It was her brother that she hadn't seen in years, to take the fall, like for her to look guilty, and then Emma to torture her. Like, I don't think he intentionally did that. I was starting to believe that, like, maybe he really did care for her, and even when he told her, okay, just tell her I did it because this isn't about you, it's about me, and she didn't do it. I was like, I'm starting to think maybe he was being honest about this, and, you know, we were suspecting him and they wanted us to, but he really wasn't guilty. But now I feel like he's going to do everything in his power to make sure she is dethroned and Canute comes back and he lost power. This is my theory now. I didn't really think about it before, because ever since last season, I didn't believe anything that man did. He just was a snake. And like Littlefoot. I don't know why I can't remember that stupid man's name, but you know what I'm talking about from Game of Thrones. Both names is dumb. It's either Littlefoot, Littlefinger. Why you would want to be named that, I don't understand, but yeah, it's him. He just reminded me of that character, and I never trusted that character, and I'll never trust Godwin. I feel like I always thought he was going to try and be with, because that was Forkbeard's daughter, that was Emma's like handmaid or whatever. I always thought he was going to use her to get what he wanted, because he knew that she was the daughter of a king. Now that I see that she had never fallen in love, and now Godwin doesn't have the woman that he wanted, I feel like he's gonna be more manipulative now. That's just a theory. I really didn't think much about it until today when I was listening to your podcasts, the ones that I missed. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't even think I brought it up in the third one either, just because, like I said, I just wasn't interested in anything that was going on there. But Emma did look pretty. She said she didn't care and she doesn't regret what happened, but she did look like she was kind of sad. She puts on a front a lot, but I do think she feels bad that she killed whatever his future wife's name was, the woman he intended to marry. She killed him, and she never, if she was guilty, she never admitted to anything. We know she wasn't, but so I think Emma knows now that she made a mistake, but there's not much she can do about it, because the girl's dead already. And I love after she died and she was like, wake her up. Like, bitch, that's not how it works. Like, she literally died right in your face. Like, what'd you think the torturer was going to do? He can't bring her back. Dummy. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, like, I guess, Harald and his boat on a sled. I didn't get that until last episode. Is that what he was planning on doing? I thought it was a pretty cool thing. I thought it was interesting. I love how everything played out. I also was like, the whole time when the quote unquote slave, or he didn't call her slave. What did he call her? Sir. I think maybe he did call her a slave. He was like, don't talk to my slave. And his slave kept talking back. I was like, that person sure ain't acting like a slave. And I was like, it's very slim. It's like, is that supposed to be a girl dressed up like a boy? But I was like, maybe that's just how they dress slaves. But the whole time, I'm like, that motherfucker got a mouth on them. Like, why do you feel like you can talk back? And why are you not punishing them? And why is he particular? Like, everything about that interaction between what is he, a nobleman? The nobleman and, like, the slave, and the way the slave kept feeling like they were allowed to speak just didn't bode well with me. I'm like, something is not right about that relationship. And then when the slave went to go get the robe and the thing cracked and they went under, and the way that the person reacted, like running towards it, I was like, okay, that's not a slave. I didn't expect it to be his daughter. I thought maybe it was like some type of, like, I don't know what I thought it was, but I guess daughter never even occurred to me because I couldn't understand why they would be dressed like a boy. But I was like, if it's his son, why would he pretend like he's a slave? I didn't know. Like, I just felt like it was something strange about that relationship. So then when the tables were turned and the nobleman fell in, and Harald picked the slave up. And I think at that point it was revealed that it was a girl. I don't remember exactly when we got that reveal. But then after everything went down and the girl was on the boat that's not on a sled anymore. Now it's actually on a river because the water cracked. We see that was his daughter. And I was like, okay, now all of that makes sense. Because I thought maybe I was like reading into it too much and I was just a little off. But I was like, okay, now it makes sense why they had a mouth on them. But when he was like, I promised your father I would get that precious treasure or whatever, like priceless treasure or whatever to Istanbul, I'm going to do it. And he was like, I know where the chest is. I'll protect it. And I'm like, okay, Harald, are you that fucking stupid? I think the treasure is her, you idiot. She is the precious treasure that needs to get to Istanbul. I don't know why she would have to get there, but it makes sense that he wouldn't want to send her by herself. And maybe if he took her with, who knows? I don't know what these, what is it called? The peonage. I mean, I do remember from watching, Black Sails and so far what I've experienced with Vikings, the way they treat women when they go to villages and plunder it. So I can imagine even if he took her himself, he's just a nobleman. He doesn't know how to fight. So it makes sense. But I just can't understand why Harald didn't put that together. Like, I feel like he's smart when he wants to be, but he's also fucking dense, and he's being dense right now. But I do think, I can't tell from her age, but I do think she's a little bit older, so we'll see. She might be like a marrying age. I'm only bringing that up because this might be where they're leaning to now that Freydis is no longer with Harald, and we see that Leif is intrigued with his scholar, his astronomist, and they got their little meetings and he's learning, and we know she's dying. So I just feel like, he might be her last ride. And that was a pun intended. And like I said before, I was kind of put off by her looking older than him, but seeing the two actors together and seeing their chemistry and the way they respond to each other, I'm kind of shipping it. I like it. I don't think he can tolerate any more grief, so I hope I'm wrong about her fate, but that cough did sound a little COVID-y. COVID wasn't a thing back then, but you just pick all of the fevers and the diseases that they had back then. She could have had any of those respiratory dysfunctions. She's just biding her time, and she's a scholar and she reads and stuff because she know her life is limited. Who knows? She's clearly not married because she can come and go whenever she pleases. It seems like she has money. So I don't know how long her and Leif will have together, but I hope it's at least for long enough for him to, get himself together. And if he knows she's dying, it won't be such a blow. I know that sounds weird, but just as someone who's been around hospice patients, knowing that your family member is going to die, like, it still hurts, but I think, when they accept it, you accept it, and it's a little bit easier to take. Anyway, I think I'll end it here. I'm just going to go ahead to 5. So until next time, love, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic. Queen of the couch, be me out.
Thank you, Queen Mimi, with your thoughts on the episode. We are on the same page on quite a few things, except for I still think Godwin was behind it. He's just it's too convenient for me that he would not know that she had a brother she was ashamed of. He's just too much. Oh, I heard the whispers, and like he's putting himself out there to be a little finger type. So if you're putting yourself out there to be a little finger type, then I can't look at you like, oh, this would slip past your understanding. I think he certainly is trying to get into Canute's better graces. Do I think he thought it would go this far? I think he thought maybe, or he could be horrified at what he did. Or, she was at ends to meet because in his mind, I didn't do it. Emma did. She tortured her. I told her not to do it. I gave her an out. I said, let me question her, So I think he totally did it. I think he knew this was a possibility, but he rolled the dice. And sure, he may feel bad. Why wouldn't he feel bad? He's been sticking his dick in her for quite some time for this type of scenario to be played out. And I think he played into Emma's insecurities, and she was caught unawares. And by the end of the season, it'll be revealed that he was behind it the whole entire time. Just because it's too convenient. Like I said, why would you put it out there in the world that you want your son to be king, and you ain't even close to being in the line of succession, nor is the woman that you're currently in bed with talking about having a marriage with would be. That's why I got mistaken with like, oh, he must be talking about Geetha. And I thought they switched out the actresses, but no, there's just no reason why. That's a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. I'm with you on the singing though. I started skipping through. I was like, whoa, what is this shit? I think she feels bad, Emma, but you're right. She ain't gonna admit to anything. She ain't gonna admit to fucking up. Just like she gonna talk about, I knew about the relationship for weeks. Like, bullshit. Like, even if I believed you, I don't believe you. If the show's trying to convince me that it did a piss poor job, because I'm not convinced you knew jack diddly shit. You just didn't want to seem like you didn't have your ducks in a row. But if you are gonna play that game, then why didn't you have your ducks in a row? Why didn't you have your little birdies out there doing the exact same thing? You're the fucking queen. All right? You didn't have to put all the power in Godwin's hand. But you also have to think about it like this. In England, Anglo-Saxon England at this time, and even though Vikings were a little bit more turning to Christianity, that meant women do not rule. Women do not have the power. So it's a man's world, Emma, and you should have known someone was going to want to be the voice and not you. Like, the minute your husband left you, you should have had your daggers up and been prepared for all assaults. Having your juicy dirt. With the girl, Elena, I believe is her name, I thought she was the daughter of someone else, but I was surprised that she was his daughter. But yeah, I did get the indication that she was the treasure more so, and he was escorting her. But I thought maybe he was escorting, like, she's the daughter of a nobleman or something like that. And then, I drop her off. I get my reward, and then I split it with, or I gave some to Harald. But yeah, Harald is thick. He's very thick. He's starting to become my least favorite character. I mean, after Freitas. Everyone else, they're just who they are. But I started liking Harald. Now every time he's on the screen, it's just, he's just annoyingly arrogant. And it's too much. I will say, though, I don't know about Miriam surviving. I do know that Leif has to make his way to America, so I think he probably is about to get hurt in love once again. So sad to say, but I don't think that this is a long-lasting relationship. And I'm with you though. If this is my last ride, that's the kind of ride the last ride I would want to go out on, because that would be one hell of a ride. I do not think I gave my score for this episode. I gave it a 7.8 out of 10. It's not one of my favorites. I think the weakest of the season thus far. If you want to send feedback, once again, blackgirlcouch@gmail.com. Socials will be below. Until next time, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic.
Real hard.